so much wisdom to share. Whenever you are officially within the 5D spectrum, every day there's like some wisdom. So today we're going to start. Did you know that self empowered people, meaning self empowerment, equals that you're committed to being yourself? Now you might ask why. Well, I didn't know how to answer this when I was growing up, but now I do. Healthy self worth, human beings who don't have any low self esteem, meaning low emotional intelligence, or other fancy ways of saying it. Well, we're not going to get fancy because, see, I like to break things down to people so they can actively understand how not to be, if they don't want to, manipulated by the Peter Pans or the 7 to 14 charming who basically use God, Jesus, devils, demons, evil. They use all these words and they are not in the 5D plane because they actively still experience in their mind's eye for the 4D mystics, and in the 3D mystic, they won't call themselves mystics, but basically, inherently, they believe in good and evil in the very actual way of the stories that were given to all of us. I know them. I told God, I said, hey, God, I don't see this evil the way the philosophical or religious textbooks have informed me. What I do see, though, this this I see the human suffering stuff that Jesus talked to me about in my catechism, and the whole thing about sin. I didn't look at it as let me go around shaming people. That actively is only done by the same people who were shamed, and in fact, like the Billy Joel song, they're looking for that something sacred that they have not yet found because it's the 1 year old. And I have seen human beings on screen say, I have the not secure attachment. Therapy is really great. However, okay, so once you are reclaimed, you've reparented, this is where people can use mindfulness actively instead of pretending to be mindful. And that's going to be later. So, self empowerment is going to look like a Jacob brain. This rabbi introduced me. I have a lot of people that introduce me to concepts. I won't be able to quote them every way, but FYI, this is not all Maria. There's no way one human being cannot actively do anything except for create new content from my mouth as I'm doing right now, thanks to other content that's been created before me. The nice thing about being present and using a mindful brain is that I actively know what year it is, and then I know what mysticism means. And I'm on a roll with my sense of humor and my capacity to present myself just the way that any other human being. I'm going to get funny soon. Don't worry about it. My lovely regular listeners know how funny I get. Yes. So I'm trying to make a point though, because this is the part that I just have kicks in. I'm amused. I'm amused. I'm the stupid lady because remember, I feel first, and I admit it. Oh, am I going to have fun? I love the sciences, people. And let me get back to serious business. So, when you don't ask yourself, why would I never want to be myself? I have a million ways to answer this, but I want to be kind because I do recognize that all the useful information, it's still building. People chase Dr. Daniel Siegel down the hallway, and he's a scientist man. Patrick McNamara has proven that there's no demon that possesses any human being. He's going to keep proving it. And Stephen Porges is working on his polyvagal theory, so he's still proving it too. And lo and behold, let us use my kicker. I got to see a post that I posted in 2011. Where are you, Plato? Oh, a good decision is based on knowledge and not on numbers. Well, Plato, I would say that the sciences community, the good ones, might beg to differ. No, no, no. Actively, the good ones, they know that 97% of what is out there is unavailable for scientists to be able to know. And then we have scientists chasing each other down the hallways, and we have the ones who like to use fancy words like, I'm going to disprove free will in God. And there's all these people that react to it. I have grown up enough to know what qualitative and quantitative data is, but that's because I'm educated. I have a master's degree. I don't believe that has anything to do with it. But then again, I did do research papers. In fact, in my religious course, religions, one of them, I got to write a paper on how animals will go to heaven because I got told that they don't. And I did the same thing this theologian does with our Reiki master people. Reiki, did you know there's a theologian? He decided to prove with qualitative analysis and his lovely little bibliography that it's yucky energy. Like with tarot, Akashic records. I mean, they just keep coming up with their own ancient institutional ways, which is fine. Again, they're using their books. I'm using all books. I'm all inclusive. See? And I know I don't know everything. So, as Plato says, a good decision is based on knowledge, not numbers. Yeah, well, the numbers actively, you know what? I'm going to leave it alone. Let me get back to our topic. So, as I was saying, you have self empowerment when you can be yourself, number one. And we get to do that here for 5D mystic, spiritual, self help, and mindful human beings who you want to put your mind into practice. You actively enjoy the usage of the mind. This is something that I will completely say. There's a Zen master, I feel bad for him. He calls his emotions laundry. That means that he has laundry when he gets sad. So I want to be fair and square and repeat. I'm lucky. I'm Maria. Promise, isn't there? There's the yeah. No, you know what? I'm not gonna go there right now. I'm getting so many images, sensations, and thoughts to be humorous with. I'm gonna stay serious. Sadhguru, as a human being, you have the power to shape your circumstances. When you do it consciously, you can create the life you want. Guess who's conscious? Yay, I manifest every day of my life. It's really funny. And then I got clairs. Now that was a kicker. I'm like, I don't have clairs. No way, Jose. It's not possible. Oh, and I don't and have not seen any of those monstrous anythings. Actively, I have a buttload of different dimensions I go to. I come back, but I have a 5D body. If only the 4D took their inner child seriously and healed the shame button, they would actively be able to enjoy what I'm going to share with the 5D mystic community, which is the beginner's mind every day of your life, not even just once, because you have the inner growth mindset. And that's because in your indecision, you're like, ooh, I have thoughts and emotions. Oh, look, that's infinite possibility, infinity and beyond. And it's actively this easy. And when people say, you're pretending to be happy, no, I just don't have the laundry the Zen master has with my emotions because I wasn't aware that people didn't know how to do emotions like humans do, you know? Pinocchio, are you still on the island with the refusal of the call? Are you turning into a donkey with all that fucking drinking, drugging? Anyone want to rewrite the karma fate? Because you can become a conscious person versus live out the actual unfortunate business of what is called low self-esteem, indirect communication, passive aggressive, very bare minimum, don't know healthy boundaries. In fact, they cancel, block people, call them devils, demons. They keep using this evil shit. It's like we're all one big ball of energy, mystics. Get on board with this. Are you done with the I'm on that end of the spectrum? You've been all of it. If you're a mystic, this is the part that any mystic, until you want to stay within the ancient institutions, then you're going to be very square. Those little rigid boxes, they don't go anywhere because that's actively a non-bilaterally integrated brain, which is why they're not mentally and emotionally intelligent. No. Their intelligence is not moving from low to high. They're reactive. They don't know how to respond. In fact, they want to go into the shower and say, if Bill looks at me one more time, I'm going to beat the fuck shit out of him or whatever it is. That's called projection. Thanks, Patrick Tiahan. So there's good childhood trauma therapists for people who want to actively begin a journey of saying, hey, let me reclaim myself because I'm not this. The unkindness is Patrick Tiahan's biggest regret. And so is the biggest regret of every person who's healing. The grown-ups, we know how to forgive because we say everyone didn't choose to lose that something sacred. They didn't choose to have a emotional body disconnect. Okay, so with that being said, the power of community is that we can have the fallen angels. Yes, they're not Lucifer or demons. They're called human beings who don't know that they have shame, blame, fault, and revenge, and it can be healed. They can know it. It's 2024. This is the year. So this is the year to remember. Na, 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 na. So whatever that song is, if you want to look it up, that's how channeling works. And they keep coming at me. We're going to make this a short one, though, so that I can talk about more stuff. We have a couple more episodes. And again, self-empowerment is when you unconsciously love yourself with flaws and imperfections and integrity. So I know how to be Maria all the time, not just sometimes, which is why we meet emotionally mature, self-empowered people. And we love them. They are amazing. There's men that you just, mwah. And women, of course. But I'm a solo poly and interested in the men. So I'm just going to put that out there. Oh, and no. The body is the least of our interests. Because see, if you don't have a soul, meaning your heart, and you got shame, you're not going to be of any interest because you're going to actively seek out those who are martyrs, superiors, or blamers. So you want to, in the moment of calm, pick a fight with me. You're going to make up stories in your brain that I'm a demon, that I'm an angel, that you're going to put me on this pedestal that I don't want to be on. You actively don't know how to speak in my fucking face. And then, everything you see in the movies. or where people who are on the human suffering love train think that love is all that. No, there's nothing. And I use words fancily. So when I say I don't feel the whole lust thing, I know there are technical human beings out there who are going to go and grab that biochemistry. Yeah, I know my biochemistry, one, because I have introception. Two, I'm sure that if we really need to bring it down to that, that I have a Cusco in town. Three, when you love someone, you actively don't engage with them from the visceral. And Stephen Porges is the one that I've learned about what true love is. And he's a scientist, man, and not a stupid idiot, unlike the ones who want to perpetuate stereotypes of our silverbacks who do navigate with lust. In fact, I know where they're going to end up. And in fact, they're all still there with the shame, blame, fault, revenge, that tooth. Yeah, they got a tooth that's venomous. And they think that that narrow state of consciousness, which is involved in unfortunate business of a 1-year-old that felt defective, their entire life was talked to in who knows how many ways. And then they got a teenager who basically thinks they're badass and is playing, catch me if you can. He gets caught. Anyone who ends up getting caught, they can get good therapy now in 2024. And anyone who doesn't, it's unfortunate business, Pinocchio on that island. It's not a badass anything. It's a low emotionally intelligent, unfortunately, human being who can be saved. We don't need to be blaming demons, devils, evils. No, it's actively a person who's vibing in a low frequency because they do not have healthy self-worth, and they did not choose self-empowerment, and they did not choose their self, and they did not choose the Holy Spirit or Jesus or God. They did not choose to understand what this sin thing was all about. And basically, if we really need to bring it full circle, because it's here that you feel faith, not here. This has nothing to do with faith. It's all feelings, which is why when somebody says you're a stupid person for basing it on feelings, and then I can bring in Plato again, and when he talks about knowledge. So people that talk, they don't recognize a good decision is based on knowledge. That one, you're an emotional being, because the first 3 years of life is implicit memory. So I have explanations. Not that I will prove it, because we got flat earthers, we got people that are scientists looking about, what was it, with AI, they want to disprove reality. And I need my little book. Where did I put it? Because I have the rabbi who gives me a really great way to tell you about knowledge. Here's my book. So with that being said, implicit memory, actually, you know what, we're going to extend it a little bit, because I have, NICABM has really great infographics that way, in case any of you wonder what implicit memory is. You have 4 types of memory. And here we go. I will share the screen so you can go and find it yourself if you want. Is that visible? Yes, it is. Okay, that's good enough. NICABM. Okay, so again, different piece of information here. Spirituality, sciences. That's what I love to do, which is why I am pseudoscience, woo-woo spiritual lady here, podcast host, mentor, content creator. Anyone who's a professional is not an academic. You want an academic, you go where the academics are. And then you look into all of the studies, though, and then you wait, and then you don't add the conspiracy theories. You put them to the side and you continue building data. Very straightforward if you actively want to tell a human being that knows what it means to build research. We just don't waste time with low emotionally intelligent people because they're boring. Cuscos are boring. They actively are narrow. Their energy is small. They have an ego. Their left and right do not work together. They're just a regurgitation. I can go read and do something more with my time than be with a person who wants to, by the way, prove they're right. I'm not giving you a thumbs up, thumbs down. I ain't anyone in your life except for another human being. I don't need to validate you. That's called me being self-empowered and making sure as a feminine that I don't take you masculine, decide for you what your value is. That's your free will. You see? I'm going to leave you free to know from your own mind, do you find yourself worthy? I didn't know that you wanted I know it's our mammalian heritage, but I'm giving you the opportunity to freely choose. Do you choose yourself? Do you think you're worthy? What do you think? What do you feel? Aha. So here's where the ones who are non-bilaterally integrated, they don't want to go there unless they're with the will to heal with lovely Patrick Tiahan and other good therapists. And then they'll know what self-empowerment is once they're ready to forgive their home that took away that something sacred that they will have been searching for in their sympathetic mode and in horribly, unfortunately, yucky relationships. And they think that that actually is something called love. Sure it is. Yes. I have all the knowledge. I already had the knowledge in here because that's what a good gut for women, men, and theys who have feelings first and they're empowered by them because they don't feel vulnerable by being vulnerable. It's just called a human being with secure attachment and more, and it's not boring. It's very enriching. And you build enriching experiences. So as he shares, the rabbi, let me see, here you go. And he also, never mind, I won't put that one in here right now, but he has this whole thing about masculines and feminines. We have both energies, by the way, but putting that to side, um, abstract, when you hear knowledge, wisdom, then he talks about you analyze it and process it. So there's understanding, you internalize it and make it yours, experientially integrated knowledge. Okay, so knowledge means that your body and your mind are friends unless you are still disconnected. That's when you're manipulable by any human being who talks to you in a fancy way that calls out to you your very own belief systems, which you don't even have the capacity to acknowledge because you don't acknowledge that your thoughts and emotions are subjective. So you can say, I know everything, and the all or nothing are low emotionally intelligent people. There's always intelligence, but low emotional means they're reactive. So they're in their sympathetic. So their first 3 years of their life, if you meet Robert Sapolsky, you'll understand why he talks to you about it. And that means that you got a survival brain mode person who's in their safety behavior, which is why they're a low emotionally intelligent. And that's why they're reactive. And they actively put into practice structural dissociation without noticing what it is, even when you explain it to them. And then they say, no, I wasn't. I was conscious. And you try to explain it again. And they say, no, humans are fucked up. Why are you taking someone's side? And you're not taking anybody's side. You're actively explaining that you could become mindful of yourself, empower yourself, love yourself, validate yourself. It's called self-regulate your 1-year-old. Find wholeness here and stop living life and saying, people are fucked up, so I'm going to stay tortured inside, which is what other people who don't want to do mindfulness, mindset practices, which is why they have a Zen master who tells them all about you cannot be in enlightenment because you got laundry. So people who do not want to do emotions, they get to do laundry. And that means they're just going to be, again, with those individuals that are in the human suffering love. So they still love, they just don't know the embodiment of their restorative embodied self. And that's because they don't want to. But their body and their brain, integrated brain, is seeking to return home to itself. And if that is something that is challenging, the good therapists, they have ways to support people with that, all of them. And yes, now I remembered what I was looking for, because there's an actual very good quote on manipulation for the people who are manipulable. It's hard sometimes for people to recognize manipulation. It is not a clinical issue. It is a human issue. I would say it's not an issue. It's a way that you can understand. If you do not own your emotional plane, you do not own your mental plane. Because your 3-year-old and your 8-year-old, you're unconscious. You have not brought unconscious, subconscious up to par. So whatever you think you're saying, as long as the emotions are not being seen by you and you're not master of yourself, means not push them down. No, you actively are enriched. Okay, so that's why it's not really an issue for me, who I can explain to how you can get to being able to use your prefrontal cortex. All of people are manipulated in some way at some point in their life. Thank you, Usha Tumala Nara, PhD. Okay, so when we do notice manipulation, if it happens, some of us don't say anything about it, because really I don't even consider it manipulation. But see, a feeling first person, we don't use our words. We use our feelings. As I was saying, that's why I'm okay with the dumb shit, because I don't use words. I don't use numbers. I use my gut. It tells me yes, and then it tells me no, and it's always spot on. And I've learned to continue to listen to it. And when I was disregarding it, I learned, okay, you disregard it, now we know. So implicit memory is a recollection acquired and used unconsciously that can affect thoughts and behaviors. We have procedural and emotional. They're both implicit. So procedural, the memory of how to perform a common task without actively thinking about it, which is why you can always wake up in the morning and keep walking, unlike when we were babies, right? And we learned how to walk. Emotional memory, the memory of the emotions you felt during an experience. The first 3 are implicit, so they have no words. They only have the sensations, then images can come up, affects, meaning, and behavior. And here we have our adaptive child pattern behaviors and maladaptive child pattern behaviors. People who go fuck, drink, do drugs, and do that shame cycle wheel and continuum on end. And then they want to blame Lucifer or demons. And 3D, 4D are in this boat because they're actively vibing with a shame button, because they continue to point fingers and not forgive, unconditionally love, and then have flaws with integrity and to speak with people as a self-empowered man, woman, or they. They don't know how to self-regulate. So they won't be actively with an open heart and an open mind, and you'll notice it, by the way. But again, we're going to continue in a part 2, explicit memory, a conscious, intentional recollection of factual information, previous experiences, and concept. By the age of 3, if I remember correctly, is when explicit memory begins to be building up. And so you have explicit moments, memory of life that you will have learned something from. Semantic memory, the memory of general knowledge and facts. Episodic memory, the autobiographical memory of an event or experience, including the who, what, and where. And if I remember correctly, this is the unfortunate business of having childhood trauma, is that I believe it's the episodic memory that can be distorted in such a way, in addition to obviously the implicit, which is you have a 1-year-old that feels defective, and that means you don't feel deserving to be seen, soothed, and you're not safe or secure to be yourself. And that is actively why people continue to perpetuate what are their shame cycles and their childhood wounds. And so they actively live relationships in a very different way. Let me grab one last bit of notes, because I believe I wrote something down that will be useful, but I might be wrong. So bear with me for 1 second, and we'll find out if I have it. No, not this one. I wrote it in one of our recent pieces of content. So what I'm going to do is pause us here and thank you for your time. And again, self-empowerment is committing to being yourself mindfully. So with mindfulness, it's because you are a body and a mind that is in harmony. You can be yourself, and that's when you're living not only a spiritual life, if you are of the spiritual community, so a life of meaning and connection beyond the soul self, because you know how to be a functional adult. So you can also be a mindful individual who has a great relationship with people, and I call the functional adult the inner child adult. And I use terms differently here, and they're meant to be used this way because our community comes here. I'm the host, I'm the mentor, and I'm just Maria, who's creating content to inspire human potential. And I can share with you how amazing it is, because when you are in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, when you're tapped into your infinite higher human conscious potential experiences, and you meet all people from all over the world, you got a fun buttload of shit to say. And that's why people say, you tainted all pink. Yeah, look, I'm all pink today. I will. Why shouldn't I? They're my emotions and they're my thoughts. You paint yours however you want. Why do I have to paint? Oh, you don't like a differentiated self. I see. You want me to enmesh? I'm so sorry. There's a door. I don't do enmeshing. I'm a differentiated 3-year-old. I don't want to share the floor with you. Don't you know what a 3-year-old wants? Me. It's all about me. And guess what I get to do? I get to do it all by myself. No, I don't. I have a herd. They accept me for me. Hey, Eric, I have a tail and got a voice. I ain't losing it. Peace out, Eric. See you later, alligator. That's how a self-empowered woman acts, by the way. Oh, we don't act in any other way except for, I see. So, head on over there. Let me know what you find. So, on that note, it is not done in a way of smiles and giggles and shits like the teenagers that I met. When you have self-empowerment, you know how to have compersion. But I want to share, I've been determined with a twin. And so this matters. It makes a difference what you have from your upbringing. I know what I have. I have had, technically, if I have to break it down technically, I have had a sibling that I got to repair ruptures with again and again and again. I got disowned. That's an explicit memory. And that is very important. I was 8. I found out my emotions and thoughts are not irrefutable facts. You cannot be disowned. And that my heart is not breakable because it's a muscle. I'm just saying. Zen Master, please go do some mindfulness living or something. So my point is, when you understand what it is to be human, that's why. If you overflow in your humanity, divinity descends. But it's not divinity in this way of using an entity called, I'm going to call God, because see, I grew up with God. Never in a million years would I be like, I'm godlike, like that you're made in an image. And people use and twist this stuff so much. There was an awful man. He's not an awful man. What he shared was awful about how women are under citizens, and he paraphrased some ancient scripture from somewhere, and we have people doing that. We have men and women doing that. Women allowing themselves to be treated like shit, and men actively using God's name. So, anyways, we have distortion from people. My point was any mystic, any spiritual human being will not look to the word divinity or God in a way that is egoic. And when somebody does, you'll notice because they stand in a certain way and then they're not open hearted and very soft. No, they actively think that they possess more knowledge. This is why we're not going to ever cross paths with these people, because if they ever cross our path, the look that I'm going to give in the eyes of any of these people, it won't be controlled. I'm actually going to be like, really? I see you. Do you see me? And that doesn't happen. Because, see, this is that part about being a person who's grounded in reality, me, human being Maria, with sciences. A person that has that much trauma is not going to want to be anywhere near a person who doesn't have low self-esteem or low intelligence. They will not want to be near us because while they may have armored their inner child shut inside, you're a nervous system and so am I. So that 1-year-old doesn't die. It stays frozen as a popsicle. These smart people teach you things. My lovely teacher Sue Martin. Attached panicky. You're 3 to 7 shame submissive. Your freeze of all ages, your flight 11, 12, and your fight 14, 15, 16. So at best, I might meet your 14, 15, 16, who will at a certain point, though, be able to be very, very, very aware of how they're not going to be able to manipulate a human being who has no low self-esteem because we have high self-esteem, which means not I look above you. It's called I look straight at you because you pointing out to anyone that they're defective means you have an ego. And you obviously don't know what it means to not cast a stone, to be humble, and to remember you never walked one day in the feet or the brain or the life of that person, and you don't know anything. So you're also judging a book by its cover, and you are actively thinking with your unbridled self-expression and your pose and your eloquent mannerisms that you can pull the wool over the... No, you're not thinking. That's a part. You're an automaton of your poor, unfortunate, unconscious child who has a teenager who thinks that finally they are adored and that they have proof that they are beautiful and that they're doing it. And that's the reason these people get softer as they get the millions of followers because now somebody's praising them and they actively are wanting to be looked up at. Actively, when I see that, I try to go and spot the ones who are ready to get out of that spell, that bullshit spell. Hey, anyone want to come and actively live life versus what that is? Come on over. I spotted you. You gonna save yourself or what? Are you gonna stick around with the buffoon who looks fancy in suits? And yeah, sure, you got a lot of great information, so does she. I'm pretty sure you could do way better because you got a soul in there versus what that is, which is a really sad story of a person. But, let me bow my head down. I always forget, as a feminine, I forget there's a balance, and that balance, so let me thank those human beings who right now will stick to whatever it is that they decide they think they know. In the meantime, we know one thing. Humans, we evolve and we expand. And luckily for us, sciences and spirituality have come together. And smart people know it. And we're compassionate and loving. Not everybody's going to see us as kind. No. Actively, we don't try to be kind. We're just people. I'm a decent human being. And if you don't like me, I'm okay with that. I will say, I'm so sorry that I offended you. However it is, you will have decided with your mouth and your poor inner child, whatever it is. I'm gone because I like to hang out with emotionally mature people. So thank you so much for your time. It's been a blessing. It's been a pleasure. It's been all of it and more. And people are like, why wouldn't you? Because I got taught if you can't say something nice, say nothing. So we don't want to be like the ones of us who don't need you to do this. If you do this, there's an Italian saying, ti faccio un pernacchio. I don't give a shit about your thumbs down. What do you think? You're an emperor? And even if you were, the Emperor's New Groove. Anyone? Cusco. He got taught by Pacho what life's all about, and he still lies to him. I'm just saying, anyone who has healthy self-worth looks at YouTube and says, wow, we got a lot of interesting people out there. Oh, look, there's a 7 to 14 charming. Oh, have fun with them. See you later. Have fun on your islands, wherever you're going to go, as you lock yourselves up and away from all of those of us who you call names. So again, it's fun to have knowledge, wisdom, information, and the data. We have it all, Plato. It's not just one thing. What I love seeing is how sciences matches what spirituality informed me of, like God, how to be humble, the right way. Thank you, Terry Real, Healthy Self Worth. How to be a person who doesn't cast a stone. Thank you, Stephen Porges. Biologically rude and biologically rude people are not choosing. Structural dissociation is not a choice. It's an active, dysregulated nervous system of a person who can become mindful of their self and then learn to regulate in their ventral vagal and get out of that shit. Thank you, Bezel Vanderkolk, Stephen Porges, Dr. Daniel Siegel, Dr. Daniel Fox. There's so many of them. Janina Fisher. Obviously, I thank God, even though I know that I'm not welcomed by all people that use that word. I thank my mother, my sisters, my family, every single human being on the face of this planet. I thank you, Sadhguru, for being here. At least he's going to bring all of us together because the true spirituality, people, we already know what it is to be here. And that's why we didn't need Sadhguru to tell us about unconditional love, but he's out there and yoga is popular, thank goodness. And the ones who think demons come out of you, well, that's a sad story. They really should learn Peter Levine. Muscles, bones, and tissues. Go get healed, people. Stop using the screen time to vent your shit. Go and first do therapy, and then you can continue venting your shit so that people can know. But be authentic. Heal. Be authentic healing people. They don't demonize or romanticize their healing journey. They also don't complain about mindfulness or living a life that is meaningful with thoughts and emotions, and they don't want to call it laundry because, again, this is what it's called to have high emotional intelligence. Means you have a brain and you're using it and you're having an enriching day-to-day experience with it, which is why you get to do more mindful practices here at IHP. Join us. So like, share, and subscribe. And if you know people who are basically in a space of, yeah, rock on, we're going to make it tomorrow, hopefully. Fingers crossed we wake up. We don't know. We're okay with our secondary consciousness here at IHP. I am. In fact, I love Sabine. When she's writing her existential physics book, she informed me that there are people who wrote her, "You have made me not sleep at night." So she wanted to give a trigger warning. I am not triggering anyone. Here's the warning. I love emotions. If you don't want to be here. We all have secondary consciousness. I got Marcus Aurelius. He told me, why are you going to worry about something that you can't do anything about? You're right, Marcus. And so I stopped crying anytime I'd wake up from darkness and be like, I don't want to die. And now I still don't want to die. But now I get to have fun when I'm having one of my panic attack episode modes and be like, okay, today's another day. Let's keep on walking. And that's why we don't complain about the lovely good therapists who give us information on how to work with our panic stories. It's always the same one for me. It's okay. Lasts 3 to 4 days. Then I'm recalibrated, good to go. Oh, and that is actively how Ascension also works, just so you all know, which is why we don't bitch about it and say, I went through ego, dark night of soul, death, and we don't objectify our human experience, the 5D mystics. And it's actively, no, my ego's here. Hey, what's up, ego? My self is here. Hey, what's up, self? Oh, I just have what's called an integrated brain. It's called my healthy self-worth. Maria, go to therapy, then get to have fun with your clairs, and then channeling. Oh, it's amazing, like a 5D body. So with that being said, let me think. Should I keep you some more? No. I'm going to let you go. That's what I always do. See, I'm like the Energizer battery. I can keep going and going and going, but I really do want to go because I want to keep it short. And I love when I say that, and then I don't. But I'm going to keep the other ones maybe short. We'll find out, won't we? So tune back in later if you want. And thank you again for stopping by. See you again soon.